Yo, what is going on, Steeler Nation? Welcome back to the Steel Factory Podcast. My name's Rion. I'm joined by my co-host Junior today.
What's up? What's up?
My bad. I think this is episode 422. Steelers Ravens preview. What is it? Week 12, week 13, and we're finally seeing a divisional opponent. We said this when the schedule came out. It looked kind of weird, looked kind of crazy, but here we are. 7-2 versus 7-3, right? Lamar's
Yep.
having an MVP caliber year. I think he has like 24 touchdown passes to 2 picks. I'm not really sure what he's doing in the run game. I'm sure it's great. He always, that's another element of him. And yeah, dude, let's dive right into it. First impressions, first thoughts of this game. What's up?
I mean, Ravens have the most efficient offense in the NFL. Lamar MVP caliber season, like you just said, bro. Like he's a scary game. This is a scary game. It's a big game. I think the Ravens are not a perfect team. Their defense definitely fell off from last year, where it was top three in the league, maybe top five.
Yeah.
Just be like with Vance McDonald being the defensive coordinator. Obviously, he got like hired away to Seattle. And then they lost some pieces, like Patrick Queen, right? And their
Yeah.
secondary is not as good, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So right
Well, wait, what's
now
with it? I keep seeing, is there really like the 31st like pass defense?
they are the 31st or 32nd pass defense in the NFL, right? They're a really good run defense. They're pretty good. And then you could also say like part of it, part of the way that they measure these stats is like, um, you know, oh, like if you give up 300 yards, you're a bad pass defense, right? Like obviously, the more production you give up on passing plays,
Yeah.
um, the worse your pass defense is going to be technically. But if you're getting a bunch of passing plays, just like the Ravens should be getting, because extremely efficient offense, teams are playing from behind,
Yeah.
right? They have to pass the ball to kind of catch up. So like yeah, like counting stats wise, like terrible defense. Um, and we
Yeah.
saw that with the Bengals, bro. Like Jamar Chase lit
And
them up.
also too, through their first 10 games, they've already played Mahomes and Burrow twice, right?
Yep.
I'm sure there's another couple. The Bills. The Bills are probably on there as well. They played some good quarterbacks already, so they're gonna light them up. Not saying the stats completely skewed or false, but I mean it's just something to keep an eye on. It might not be the whole story, right?
Yep. Look, just looking at the Ravens schedule, they lost to the Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
That's nothing crazy. They lost to the Raiders, which was pretty crazy. And the Raiders have a terrible run defense, or a terrible run offense in general, like historically bad.
Right.
And the Raiders just ended up passing the ball. They just passed the ball all day on the Ravens,
Is that
and they
Minshew?
came back. Yeah, that was Minshew. And they managed to pull it off. And then they played the Cowboys after that. It was Ravens 28, Cowboys 25. Cowboys obviously, really good pass offense, just with Dak and
Right.
CD
Yeah.
and I think at that point they still had Brandon Cooks. Uh, but yeah, like the Cowboys obviously were able to put up points and stop them enough to only get the Ravens to 28. Actually, I think that game was a little bit of a blowout. Um, and then the Cowboys kind of brought it
I feel
back.
like that's a lot of the Cowboys games, right? Besides how
Bro,
they beat us.
yeah, the Bills game was really bad. Ravens 35, Bills 10. Um,
Whoa. And the Broncos game too, right? Wasn't it like 40-10?
the Broncos was like 40 to 10. Um, which is pretty bad as well.
Yeah.
Which does make me nervous. The Buccaneers game was 41-31. The Buccaneers have a pretty decent defense.
Yeah.
Obviously not good enough. Right? Commanders kept it close. We just played the Commanders. The Commanders were 23 to 30 against the Ravens. They lost. Right? But they kept it close. That game did get out of hand for them, and I think it was like 14 to or like it was probably like 16 to 30 at some point, and they scored a touchdown or something.
Hmm.
Um, but it's
I
it's
mean,
interesting.
the funny thing about these games, though, throw everything out the window. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Throw everything
I
out the
think
window. We went in there with Kenny Pickett and won. Remember how good Lamar looked last year? Still won in that first, was it week
yeah,
5? You know how they were like putting up probably like, the fucking Ravens, dude. Start the year, especially they did put up like 50 points in a fucking game. stuff like that. Pretty sure that
I
happened
think,
last year going into this game. It's what's
yeah,
crazy
I
about
think
these fucking games, dude.
the closest game we might get as far as like being like a, like very similar team wise, the Browns. The Browns just beat the Ravens 24-29 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
right? Like the Browns, same kind of build as us. Great team. This was Jameis's first game, I think.
And you don't know what to
And
expect when it comes to those games, right? I'm sure they didn't. I
yeah,
mean, Jameis has plenty of film
yeah,
out there, but you don't know how he's going to do with,
exactly.
Njoku. I
But
mean,
we know
Chubb had
that,
just got him back as well, right?
yeah, but we know that Jameis can sling the ball. We know that he can really put up a bunch of counting stats offensively,
Yeah.
paired with a lot of interceptions. And the Ravens in this game, I remember they dropped a lot of interceptions that would have ended the game.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people have us written off, like just looking at the odds and stuff. But there's definitely a very, very obvious script where we win this game.
No,
You
definitely.
know,
I mean, I feel like I could always just go back to those like 13-10 games that we've been seeing a lot these last few years against them. Um, Granted, we've been winning these games though. We're 7-1 in the last 8 games against the Ravens. I'm pretty sure Lamar has probably only played in about 4 of them, which is still shocking. Everyone always brings this up. Why hasn't Lamar played against us? Really? But when he does, there's a highlight reel of him just making stupid mistakes. Like I'm pretty sure he has more interceptions than picks, or yeah, more interceptions than touchdowns. My bad. And on top of that, bunch of fumbles too. Lamar just I don't know if we just have that recipe out there. I mean, you kind of saw it. Jaden Daniels really didn't do as much in the run game against us. But Lamar's a whole different beast, right? And then we have Derrick Henry back there now. This is our first time going up against Derrick Henry, who we've actually done pretty well with in the past when he was on the Titans. But the Ravens always have a really different running game dynamic. So we'll see how that goes. And of
like,
course, they have good receivers around, right? You got what's his name? Um, number 5. Was it number 5 still?
oh, Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers, yeah,
All right. I mean,
and not
like
Deontay.
it's good that you bring up like the Jaden Daniels comp. A
Yeah,
lot of people are saying Jaden Daniels is the next Lamar. And I was seeing, a couple of like film people on Twitter talk about how we went about stopping Jaden Daniels. Like we would basically put him in a spot where he had to choose really, really quickly to keep or run or give the ball off, right? For the run with because they have those option plays built in for him. Um, so the problem is like if we keep that same sort of tactic against the Ravens, is Derrick Henry is a lot better running back than Eckler, right? He's a different beast. Eckler's good, but he's not the running threat that Derrick Henry is. And then Lamar is I think he has a little bit more different of a running style. Like Lamar's more quicker. He's quicker and like more shifty.
mm-hmm.
Uh, and then Jaden Daniels is more like he's more of like a sprinter, I want to say.
I can
You
see
know what I
that.
mean? Like
Yeah,
um so I think it would be kind of closer to that. It's going to be a different matchup. We're not going to be able to defend them the same way, and I think if we try to, we're going to make Derrick Henry beat us, which
yeah,
he definitely can, like that's not a position you want to put yourself in. Um and another thing, I know you talked about like Lamar or like us having Lamar's number in the past.
yeah.
Um Lamar's gotten a lot better against the blitz. Like Lamar's biggest weakness is that he was a terrible quarterback against the blitz just a few years
Are
ago
we
or
are
in the
we
last
still
couple of years.
blitzing? We haven't really started blitzing yet though. We're still really pushing the front four though.
No, exactly. That's exactly what I was getting at. Is in the last couple of years, we've been one of the best like sack defenses in the league, right? I remember a couple of years ago we led the league with like 50.
But we
So we
always
are
lead the
obviously,
league. It was just the 1 year TJ was injured.
yeah, but
I don't know about this
we
year, but yeah. Yeah.
yeah, no, exactly. Like this year we're playing a little bit different up front just because our up front guys are so dominant.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like Lamar's gotten a lot better against the blitz this year, right? You can't just blitz Lamar and expect him to become a way less efficient player. Like now he's able to like maneuver pockets better. He's able to, put the ball where he wants it better. Like he has a lot more tools uh at his disposal against the blitz. So it's interesting that it kind of lines up when we have kind of stopped blitzing as much. It's very rare that you see us bring us more than 4.
Um, and again, another thing, which we literally texted about this right after the last podcast. Patrick Queen was huge last week, and
Yep,
look for him to be the reason we stop Lamar again this week, right? Um,
exactly.
I know he had a really good game too. That kind of went under the radar against the Giants. He was kind of flying all over the place again, but yeah, he had a really good game against Washington. I know everyone's kind of on his ass too because where the splash plays, and same with Minka too. But stats just came out that when we're in that cover three with Minka all the way up top, there's no efficiency for the offense. We're shutting that down. Um,
Yep.
it's not all about the highlight plays. What happened? This
Yeah,
past
there's no
week we gave up our first touchdown or points in the third quarter. Like that's insane. We're 9 games into this thing. We're halfway through the season. We finally give up points in the third quarter. We're doing really good job making adjustments, and that's all that really is. Second half points. That's all your adjustments make coming in at halftime.
Yeah, no, and like if you I just going back to Patrick Queen, like I in my head, he's a perfect profile for playing against these kinds of quarterbacks, like these really quick
Yeah,
running quarterbacks. He's so fast just laterally, right? He can start off in the middle of the field and beat quarterbacks or beat whoever, quarterbacks and running backs, to the edge, like
yeah,
no problem. And he just covers so much ground. He's so quick. And against players like Lamar and Henry, like especially Henry, who needs to get that edge, who needs to like break a tackle to really get going on a run. Like
yeah.
it's really important to meet them, as early as possible. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, like
Once he
just
gets
like
going, he's going. Yeah,
exactly. And if you go into like the as far as like adjustments and like points throughout the game, in second half points per game, we're third in the league.
yeah.
We're at 15 in the points in the second half. That's behind the Ravens at 16.5 and the Eagles at 15.3. Right. If you look at second half points allowed per game, we're first. 6.1 points allowed in the second half. The Ravens are 32nd, 15.8. They
Points
are the
allowed.
worst team
So
defensively in the second half of the league.
again, this could go back to how much is it garbage time, and
Yeah.
or really just their defense allowing them to kind of keep games close. You know what I mean? In a
Yeah, and
bad
that
way.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a really perfect storm for their defense to suffer. Let's say it is a little bit of, or maybe it's a lot of their secondary isn't very good, their pass defense isn't very good, and they're always playing from ahead, so people are always passing it on them, right? Like if you look at the Bengals games, they're all like huge games that are going down to the last second that are, where there's huge passing and explosive plays on all of them.
Yeah.
So I think like the script and all the numbers definitely align for us to definitely be in this, for us to at least make it a game, and I think even just win it straight up.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't really dove into our offense about what we expect from Russ, but yeah, I think we're in for a crazy ass second half of this game. I don't know how I kind of see it, kind of just us kind of weighing each other out in the first half. Maybe we go into halftime at 6-3. You could very well see it being like 24-20 at the end of the game, stuff like that. We got to score predictions in a little bit, but yeah, I mean this is shaping to be a really crazy second half game, just based on how we've always played too this season. We've been really good in the second half. We've been really good at making adjustments. Um, but yeah, what do you expect from Russ though? I think I saw when we signed him that he has a really good record against the AFC North back when his time on the Seahawks, stuff like that. So this is his first AFC North game here as a Steeler.
uh I haven't seen that. I don't know about that, but um honestly, dude, I expect a lot of the same from Russ, man. Just these big moon balls. um
Really test their secondary.
Really, and you're gonna pass this test, dude. Like everything is pointing to this being like a big offensive game for us.
Yeah.
And there were times before. This is me being like a traumatized Steeler fan from the last 2 years. Like where you see like, oh, like we should be able to like put up points, and then you get like 16, right? But we've been dropping 30 like consistently. So I expect a lot of Russ Moonballs. I expect a lot of explosive passing plays. I'm not sure if Calvin Austin is going to be able to play. He would be a pretty big component of those explosive
Is he
plays.
hurt, Calvin?
Um,
Thought it was
I
Najee had
think
the
so.
ankle. Najee had the ankle, but our receivers should
Is it
be
just
good.
Najee?
It's
Oh, well,
Van.
perfect.
Van has a quad. But yeah,
Oh shit.
Najee had the ankle, but he came back in the game against Washington. So
I think I saw that Najee's ankle was hurt, but he's expected to play.
yeah,
I don't I saw like there was some weird stuff going on with Calvin Austin. But he might be totally fine.
yeah.
But anyway, if we have Calvin Austin, like that's fantastic, right? Um, like Pickens and Mike Williams are going to be great going down the sideline. They're going to be great on the deep balls. You know, Russ is great at dropping in a bucket or putting it only where they can get it. And then Calvin Austin is really great at like taking a big chunk play up the middle or at the middle of the field and getting some yards after the catch like that, right? Like it's all there. I feel like our offense is designed to beat this Ravens team, honestly.
Um, Again, I don't know how much we're gonna try the run game in this game. I feel like with Najee, Cordell Patterson, Jalen Warren. I don't know. I don't know how much we're gonna start with that, right? Because he brought up that they're a really good run defense team, right? So, do you expect us to kind of just go straight to the pass, or do you think we're gonna try to continue to just play Steeler football, run the ball, take our chances downfield? Play
I
action has
think
worked really well to like Darnell Washington too.
Exactly. I think we still need to, mix the run in a bit. Like Arthur Smith's offense is built around the play action,
Yeah.
and you got to keep the defense honest if you're gonna, have an effective play action game, and you got to do that by, being able to get some chunks running the ball, and I think we will be able to do that. Najee, he's shown in a few games this year. Like a lot of people are saying this is probably the best football he's ever played. Hopefully we could get one of those really good games out of him. Um, and then with Warren, I think again he can be really quick, but definitely a little limited. He doesn't have the big games that Najee has.
Yeah. Are you a little worried about Warren after that fumble? I don't think he ever came back into the game. I think he was just on
I'm
Najee from there.
I don't think I'm worried about Warren. He's had a couple fumbles,
Yeah.
right? I remember Warren's definitely had some fumble issues. Not that they were like ever huge issues. Um, but I'm not super worried. I think they probably just took him out to kind of like let him know like you gotta
It was crunch time too.
maybe
You're gonna run with Najee. You like Najee in those
yeah,
in the
yeah.
blitz
Najee gives
against
you
the
more
blitz.
options in
Yeah.
crunch time.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, I mean, we're in for a day though. Sunday. I don't know if you want to like. We're not really gonna talk about the other games, but I think we have Bills Chiefs right after our game, and then Sunday night we got Bengals Chargers. It's gonna be a crazy Sunday, and um, I mean, yeah, we're really focused on Steelers Ravens. Obviously, this is probably the biggest Steelers Ravens game since people said like the Immaculate Extension game, the AB Christmas Day game, Color Rush uniforms. Everyone keeps bringing up that game as this is the biggest Steelers Ravens game since then. Just because this is probably like the first time since then that we're both going head to head as leaders of the division, right? And basically, whoever wins this game has a really good chance of winning the division. I don't know like what the odds makers are saying, like if one team wins, what are their odds if the other team wins, stuff like that. But this is gonna be a really crazy game. I know we play them again in December, um, so we'll see how this goes. Honestly,
I definitely agree, dude. This is a huge game just for the playoffs and for the playoff implications, just the division implications, right? If we win this, we are firmly atop the AFC North.
yeah,
And we're in the driver's seat for the second seed. And
and you'd
it's
love that
huge. It's
matchup. You'd love that matchup, second versus
you
seventh seed.
exactly. You'd love that matchup. In this AFC, it's gonna be the Broncos maybe, and I think we've already beaten the Broncos. And I'm not super scared of them. I think
We beat them
they
with
have
Fields on
seen
the road, so at home with Russ will be a different story, right?
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
that'd be a nice get back for Russ. But yeah, the division or the wild cards and the division leaders are really taking shape. I don't know if we discussed this on the last podcast or just like off of it. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously the Chiefs, they're leading the West. You look at the Texans in the South, who still play the Ravens. Um, that's good for us. Bills have a chokehold on the AFC East, and then it's really us against the Ravens for the North. Wildcard teams: Chargers, Broncos, Bengals maybe, and then you look at whoever doesn't win the North between us and the Ravens, right?
Exactly. So it's gonna be the Chargers or Broncos or Bengals, right? That would be our matchup.
Yeah,
And all, I mean, none of those teams are bad, right? Like they're all good teams, but it's definitely better than playing
in Kansas
the Raven.
City, in
Yeah, it's better than
Buffalo,
playing Kansas City, or it's better than being the fifth seed and then going to Baltimore, bro.
or Houston. There's some
Yeah,
really good top dogs in the AFC, and I mean, for all intents and purposes, we kind of measure up against them right now, right? We've beaten
I-
Washington. We've
exactly.
slammed the Chargers and the Broncos, who are the leaders in the wild card race right now. Besides us or the Ravens, right?
I I saw that for adjusted strength of schedule, we've had the fifth hardest schedule up until this point,
And it
and we're
makes
seven and
sense.
two.
Yeah, the Chargers are having
Yeah,
a
it makes
sneaky good season. I mean, no one. I mean, people would pay more attention if the Chiefs weren't fucking undefeated and just leading the West, blowing everyone out of the water, right?
yeah.
And we'll see where we end up in this back half. This is kind of like a midpoint podcast now that we're talking about it because we do have all our AFC North games coming up. We have the Browns in a short week, which I mean, we're probably just gonna film one episode next week because we have a Thursday nighter. So we'll recap this Ravens game and then go quickly into the Browns game in the same episode next week. I think, right?
Yeah, I think that'll be good.
But yeah, man. Anything else to bring up? This is a crazy. This is a big game. I'm
It's
excited
a
for
big
it.
game. If
Score
we,
predictions or one last thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah, let's go.
All right. Score predictions: Steelers, Ravens. What is? I can't. Week 11, week 12.
It's
Um,
11.
week 11. All right.
Yeah,
Steelers right now +3 at home. I think the points is 48. I believe. I should have looked at that again. Points is 48. Yeah. Ravens -3. I think our money line is +145 right now. How are you feeling? Score predictions now.
Honestly, Tomlin as a dog, fantastic record. Like Tomlin, divisional dogs at home, fantastic records against the
Mhm.
spread. Fantastic records against the spread. Divisional dogs at home. If you bet on that, you're gonna be a winning better. If you bet on Tomlin as a dog, you're a winning better. Um, right. So this is just like these. This is a really, really good. As far as what the books think, this is a really, really good moment for us.
Yeah.
I am scared of the Ravens. I'm not gonna lie, right? Like Lamar's MVP, best offense in the league. Uh, but we have a fantastic defense, top three, maybe the best. We have a fantastic passing offense. Um, so I think we have what it takes. The over under is 48. That's an implied point total of 25 versus 23, right?
Yeah.
Or 25 or 26 22 or something like that. 25 23ish.
Yeah. 25, 20, 26, 24, 26, 23.
It's like 27 and a half,
Yeah.
20, something like that. It's in there.
Yeah.
I think, dude, honestly, I'm going to take the over. I'm going to say Steelers 31, Ravens 24.
Touchdown.
A touchdown.
I'm going Steelers as well. I just think that no matter how good these offenses are, we're going back to a slugfest again. This is it's be another Kenny Pickett type of score. It's gonna be 17-16 Steelers. Um, yeah, I just these teams I just can't see it being a shootout. It's gonna be a defensive slugfest. Again, you're probably gonna see a 6-3 score at halftime, and like you said, dude, Tomlin as an underdog at home. dude, what is his record is insane that way.
It is.
And then just the fact that we're 7-1 against the Ravens in the last 8. I mean, maybe Lamar eventually figures this out, but it's like, dude, how could you put him in the category as Mahomes if one of his division rivals fucking has his number every game, game in and game out?
Yeah, you can't put Lamar in the category of Mahomes. He's playing amazing. The offense is amazing. But and Henry obviously amazing player, but like he doesn't have he just doesn't have the playoff record
Right.
or anything to like be put in that tier of quarterback. Mahomes is definitely a tier above everyone else, and I don't think Lamar's gonna jump into it.
Trust, he has the MVP stats, right? I mean, everyone knows how good he is against the NFC. Because those teams don't see that, right? They don't see him that often. But us, we just somehow figure it out. Um, but yeah, this is gonna be a good one. Probably the biggest. This is probably the biggest game we've had on this podcast so far, right? Because
This is
we
definitely the
haven't been
biggest
in
game.
this 7-2, all this momentum, and then division opponent really competing for the North now. Yeah, dude, I'll see you on the other side, right?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back Monday for the recap, and then it'll be a Browns preview as well on those Thursday night and the Thursday nighter. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a rating on Spotify Podcast. And yeah, peace out. Here we go, Steelers.